fans, and wanted to get back, as quickly as they can. So as was reported today, which is just, been a month, 2-month or so process of, talking to owners, talking to executives, talking to players, doing surveys with fans. They decided that the best thing to do was to do the way that I describe it as sort of Hotel California, right? Where it's sort of I've heard somebody use that reference on WFAN, but it's true. They're going to use Orlando for, come here, check in and sort of check out when it's over, which is smart, because it's just the best way to do it, because, and so the reports again today, where there's going to be a lot of separation and, social distancing, no fans. But it is going to allow for the players to not only continue to get paid, which is very important, but also compete, which is probably the most important. And, give people some semblance of normalcy, which it's as we all know, it's very complicated. But I can say that the NBA has been very vigilant on making sure that safety is a big deal, and then tying in the other things. Sort of got him to this result, which is July 31st, 22 teams, 8-9 seeds. If you're a 9 seed, you've got a chance to get into the tournament, which is really what it is. So there's that NCAA vibe to it. You notice the marketing, but also the opportunity for the best teams, right? Both LA teams, Milwaukee, and the other teams to compete for a championship. And that's all we could ask for if you're an NBA fan.
Tommy, of all the plans that we've heard about, what were you liking? You're as keyed in as anybody. What were you thinking, and what were you liking as this whole process went along?
From an NBA standpoint?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's certainly to make sure everything was quarantined. Everybody was quarantining together. I think that was really important. That's super important to the players. Obviously everybody knows the players who are under contract, who are going to become free agents and maybe get paid again, or for the first time. Either one, their health is what's most important to their families, which is way more important than entertainment. So as long as the safety was there first, that was most important for me, I think. The entertainment value, as we've seen, you, Rob, is a big baseball fan. I'm sure you're watching the ESPN coverage, in the Korean League. It's baseball, and that's a welcome sight, even if it's overnight or in the middle of the night. It is Korea, right? You're a bigger baseball guy than I am. But and when I'm up at 5 a.m, I see it and I'm like, yeah, it's baseball. It feels good. It's new. And I think that's a key part of, just us getting back to some semblance of normalcy.
Hey, Tom. So my question is for you, what are your thoughts or your thinking about how this is going to change the sports landscape forever? I mean, I have my own thoughts in terms of, are the seasons going to change? And some people say, well, the basketball is a summer sport anyway, so maybe their season will be affected by this going forward. Is this going to have long-term residue effects on all sports?
I think we'll see, right? Because we heard, was it yesterday or the day before, that the couple players from one of the teams in Korea had tested positive. And then what does that mean, right? If you're talking about playoffs now in the NBA, is that going to be that player's got to be out for 2 weeks? That's an injury now, right? So if that's LeBron James, if that's, a key X factor player on another, if that's anybody that contributes to a team and helps them, has helped them get to this point, they'll be out for the playoffs, and then that's a big deal. So when you factor that into the injury landscape moving forward, that's a really big deal. And then it becomes, well, who are the players in the leagues, not just the NBA, but all the leagues, who just get geared up to play on game nights, right? Versus the guys and gals who don't need that to play every night, right? So, I think there's a performance fan element that I don't think a lot of people are talking about that I think will is going to be interesting to see here over the next not only few months but years before, you know, people. I was sitting with my wife the other day. We were out in the yard, and we were just sitting there talking. She said, do you think the restaurants around here are going to come back to normal? And I said, well, that comes down to you she's been a teacher. She's been in the house literally every single day. She hasn't left for about 6-8 weeks, maybe once or twice. And I said, well, when are you going to be comfortable to go to a restaurant, sit with 8 people that, you know, you've only seen me and our son and a couple of our family that we've been social distancing with. Once that comfortability thing becomes a thing, then I think sports will come back to some normalcy. But you know, how that is, obviously I think the vaccine or whenever that happens will make people more comfortable. But as it relates to the landscape, short term, you know, we're going to have to see, you know, how we've already seen it in NASCAR. We've seen it in MMA. We've seen it now in baseball outside of the country. You know, and golf, we saw this, obviously Tiger Woods and Mickelson last weekend, 2 weekends ago. So I think there's going to be a short-term impact. Long-term, you know, remains to be seen.
Okay, before we go to break, I want to ask you going back to basketball for a second. So in your mind, Tommy, did Silver and the NBA board made it 22 teams? Was that strictly for Zion Williamson to play, or what do you think? I mean, it seemed that way because, you know, and by the way, as a fan, I'm excited to see him play basketball. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I definitely don't know that answer, but I would say that the educated speculation portion of it makes a lot of sense. And you know, who wouldn't want to see him sort of in a short series or even a long series against, you know, the top West teams, or I guess they're going to repair, I think, you know, and gives him a chance to play more. He's fresh, right? So,
yeah.
You know,
his knee will be good.
Yeah, his knee will be good, and that's he's an exciting player, and he's had an impact there. You know, when you look at it this way, and I think anybody who, you know, follows the Knicks, and you know, they've been understanding of how quickly things can change and how long they can stay the same. They literally traded Anthony Davis, made a good trade, and got the number 1 pick, and they're in the playoffs. You know, that happened in the span of 6 months, 8 months. And that's good luck, right, with the lottery. And it's also a relationship thing with LeBron's agent and Anthony Davis, you know, making that deal happen with which New Orleans agreed to. So it was a fair deal. So you can see how quickly things can change. And that's where I think there should be a lot of optimism with the Knicks moving forward, in my opinion.
Very cool. Rob, I think we'll go to a break and then we'll come back. And, you know, I think what might be fun is we'll come back because I really want to have Tommy's input on the Clubhouse report. So let's take a quick break and then come back and we'll try that thing called the Clubhouse report.
I love all of that. So the band is going to file in. We'll get them straightened out and we'll continue on just after this on the Clubhouse on 1490, 105.5, and WGCH.com anywhere.
As parents, we do pretty much anything to protect our kids, from monitoring what they watch on TV and online to making sure seatbelts are buckled. But one threat that your kids are exposed to is something you've probably never even noticed. Tobacco marketing, bright colors, rows of products, buy one, get one frees. Big Tobacco spends billions to put marketing in stores where kids can see it. And the more kids see tobacco, the more likely they are to start smoking. Help protect them today at SeenEnoughTobacco.org.
Brought to you by Power Against Tobacco.
Hi, I'm Tony Savino. Join me every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock on AM 1490 and FM 105.5 WGCH for Spotlight on Medicine. Each week I speak with the doctors, nurses, and other medical experts at Greenwich Hospital. This week on Spotlight, supporting...
Me or you on music, Bob?
I've got it.
Okay.
Me and you against them.
Welcome back to the Clubhouse. It is taking quite an effort, but the band has filed in. They are all set. The conductor is in
I can't
place.
hear
Mark is having trouble hearing
or
now.
talk.
Or talk. Mark, I hear you. You're fine. You're
Good.
with us.
We hear you.
I can't hear or talk.
Mark
We got
can't
you.
hear or talk. We've got you. You're good.
I'm not sure what's happening.
Go ahead.
I can't hear or talk, so
Well,
Okay.
while we're figuring this out, I
I
have,
don't
I have
hear
a comment.
anybody.
Are you back on, Mark?
I can't hear. So,
Okay, so Tommy, your point about
David, I can't hear.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna talk to Tommy until you get back on here. So, in terms of your point about crowds, it's Muffet McGraw was on today. And she said Notre Dame women's games, the crowds were 10 points to her team. She feels, and so she basically said,
Or talk.
Mark, you're gonna have to. It's on your end, bud. It's not on my end.
I'm disabled.
You're not disabled.
Go ahead,
Rob,
Dave.
why don't you? I'm just saying. My point is about crowds at games.
Why?
I'll try
No,
to see if I can do.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and I think, Dave, that without them, you're starting a game at home instead of 10-0, 0-0, and that becomes more of a strategic game and puts more pressure on players to pay more attention, puts more pressure on the assistants to make sure that the head coach has all the info, and yeah, I mean that's that just puts more stress on people who already live very stressful lives. And it's going to be a tricky deal, and not to mention the analysts who are going to be overly critical, already to begin with, and so that's going to be something that I think is going to be fascinating.
Hey, David, I can't hear, so I don't know what to do.
And for people who are already in the media, it's going to give them more I guess ammunition to be critical, which is going to help them.
What about the Knicks, Tommy? I know you kind of alluded to them before, but how are you feeling about the Knicks where they're moving? We're not really talking about them as much. They're kind of the forgotten team in all of this. What about the Knicks in your mind?
Moving forward, to me, I mean, I think they have they've got a franchise player in RJ Barrett. Yes, it was unlucky that they didn't get number one. Everybody loves John Morant. I definitely thought he was the best point guard in that draft. He's definitely a PG1. But I love RJ Barrett's. I love his will. I love his work ethic. I love his skill set. I love his mentality. I love everything about him. He's one of those guys that is going to play 12 to 15 years and play at a very high level. Now it's about surrounding him with the talent that complements him. They didn't have it this year. Obviously, they were, I think, positioning themselves for other things, which everybody knows now. If Kevin Durant's leg doesn't snap, they're in a completely different situation, which nobody talks about, but that's the truth. Yeah, so what I like is how durable he was, how responsive he was. I was at the game against the Suns at the Garden when he was playing his best basketball. He was coming off a great game against the Heat, pretty close to triple-double. They won that game. That was probably the best game they played all year. I went there as a guest of one of the Suns players' fathers, and I just was watching him, and he sprained his ankle at the end of the first half. The Knicks were playing pretty good, and it was a close game, and the Suns were playing pretty good too. It was a really good one of those young NBA games, and RJ was doing his thing, and then he sprained his ankle, and he was out for 2 weeks. So, that to me sort of derailed, but he was able to come back. In the last game that he played, so the last couple of games he played, particularly the one against the Rockets at home, I just think he has that it factor, that mentality that the greats have had. And, he struggled. People will say maybe he struggled. but he's still, I think, a franchise player to build around. And Knicks fans should be excited that they have him on the roster for sure.
No question about it. Tommy D with us here on the Clubhouse. And you know who else is here, Dave? Mark Jeffers is here.
Yay!
My apologies. Apparently, I must have broke something.
Dear.
Not at all. Not at all. Welcome back, my friend.
I hope I didn't say anything too obnoxious. Because I couldn't hear you guys, but apparently you could hear me.
Yep. Loud and
Yeah,
clear.
You were
No,
nice
I hope
punctuation to the interview.
All right, so shall we strike up the band?
Go for it. We need the band.
Here we
Last
go.
time we did that.
The Clubhouse Report with your host, Mark Jeffers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And again, my apologies to my computer breakdown. As Tommy and I were just discussing, sources report today that the NBA may restart their season in Orlando on July 31st with 22 teams, playing an 8-game pre-playoff schedule to set up the playoff seedings. And we've sort of already talked about that, but I just wanted to mention that in the Clubhouse report. So moving on, the Boston Marathon has been canceled for the first time in its long history. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh said during a briefing outside City Hall that organizers have determined that the race, initially pushed back from April to September 2020, was not feasible this year. You know what? I think it was a good move. Thoughts?
I think it's a move they probably had to make. As much as we all love tradition, safety's everything.
I was going to run it this year too. I don't, it's a shame.
I mean, it's outdoors. If I can lend a differing viewpoint, I don't understand why they're so concerned.
You're not wrong, Bob. No question about it.
You're right. You're right, Bob. But at the end of the day, they are congregated in masses of groups.
There's also liabilities to talk about.
Yeah, right.
I guess, and they do it in the
I would
street.
make it run in December for Dave, but that's another.
I'm ready. As long as my mic works.
Put me in, Coach.
No, my mic was working apparently, just not my headset. In fan-free NASCAR action, Brad Keselowski got some luck for his second win of the season when Chase Elliott and Joey Logano collided as they raced for the victory flag at Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. Apparently, they were in the second to last lap, and he was in third place and got in for the win, which is kind of. And I've never really watched NASCAR now, but I'm actually watching NASCAR.
When there's nothing else, there you go.
There you go.
What do you think, Mark?
Well, I'm not going to watch. I mean, they just go round and round and round.
Yeah, they do.
You're
right.
Yeah, but they're doing it at 180 or something miles an hour. It's not
like
easy.
you're going home from Grand Prix when you're late, Bob. I understand that. But Belmont Raceway opened today for racing with no fans, and the rescheduled Triple Crown is now set. The 152nd running of the Belmont Stakes will lead off on June 20th as at a shorter distance of 1 1/8 mile. And then September 5th, the Kentucky Derby will be out, and then 2020 Preakness Stakes at Pimlico Racecourse in Maryland will now take place on October 3rd. Your thoughts, Tommy? Are you a horse racing guy? My thoughts are that's going to be an interesting change for the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Cold weather, possibly, for that last one.
The only thing about horse racing that I know is Saratoga is a really good time in August.
If the horse is going to win the Triple Crown, is that like
That's
the
all I got.
reverse effect? Because it's backwards.
It is.
Well, you know who's a huge horse racing guy and Tommy knows him as well as I do. Our buddy Sean Kilkelly is huge.
Oh, yeah?
Love some ponies.
To Bob's point, though, even in Maryland in October, there could be a little chilly.
Yeah.
All right. According to ESPN, and this actually been updated, but MLB owners are now willing to honor the prorated salaries that were agreed to in March. Players would be paid in full prorated share of their salaries based on the number of games that they played. While the union most recently submitted a proposal for prorated salaries over 114 game season, which the owners rejected today. The owners are seeing a much shorter regular season, somewhere in the 50 to 60 game range. And again, I'll go to Rob on this. Rob, I mean, what do you think about a 50, 4-game season.
I mean, I'm desperate to get anything that I can get, but at the same time, that number is so low to me. I liked the players coming back with 110, 114 games. I like that a lot better. I don't really love the 80-game idea either, but this is all coming down to money, and it's the worst thing baseball can possibly do. I don't care if it's – look, I'm more on the players' side because I think the owners reneged. I think they made a huge mistake in that regard, but the optics on both sides are completely terrible here.
The optics stink, you're right.
What's a normal size season?
162.
Oh, wow. More than I thought.
I keep thinking of 1981. We had a huge strike in the middle of the season. The Yankees played 107 games that year, so around 107, 109. So that's why I'm thinking, give me that 110, 115. I think we can still have an acceptable season.
You got to hit that 100 mark, I think. Anything under 100 just seems desperate.
I think thoughts? Yeah.
No, it really is, I think, ball in Rob's court here because this is a Yankee thing in my mind. And I'm a Met fan, and Dave, I know you are as well, but this is a Yankee thing. Like, there's the revenue element, there's the money element, but then there's also the championship element, and there's the asterisk element. So what, they're going to be really good this year.
Right.
How comfortable are you, with potential asterisks or asterisks, or just punt the season. But as I mentioned before with the NBA, and I think they did a really good job not getting to this point. Obviously, the CBA is not they're not pressed up against that, but this has become a labor dispute.
Oh, it has.
In the midst of a pandemic, which is a terrible, terrible look.
Which is bad.
Terrible look. It is essentially a strike in a matter of speaking, or a lockout, depending on how you want to phrase it. But it is bad. It is a labor dispute.
Either way, it stinks.
Yeah.
Okay, the American Hockey League canceled the rest of their season because of the COVID-19, and it shifted its focus towards returning next season, which, again, is maybe in some people think that might be the way to go for all sports, but, they are looking forward to next season. The Premier Lacrosse League has entered into a partnership with Genius Sports, which becomes the league's official data and integrity partner for sports betting. So, Dave, we found a new sport for you to bet on.
All right, good. I'm in.
Okay. Just trying to make sure you were happy with that.
I was
Major
actually
League Soccer. Gosh, no, we haven't talked about them enough.
Oh, soccer. Here we go.
Soccer.
Oh, no.
The MLS Players Association appear to be heading toward an agreement on economic concessions for 2020. The deal will also pave the way, and I know that Bob Snow is concerned, for MLS teams to take part in a tournament in Orlando that will mark the league's return to play. Teams are scheduled to head to Central Florida on or around June 24th. They would remain in Orlando for about 6 weeks. So, you know what? Sports are sports. We want everything to get back. As long as it's safe, I'm good with that.
Bundesliga.
I know, but MLS, we can't. No. Otherwise, the Clubhouse report would be missing that whole paragraph.
Yes. Well, I also like saying that, too. It was just fun.
I know. And that's pretty good. In golf news, U.S. Ryder Cup captain Steve Stricker has named Zach Johnson and Davis Love III as vice captains for the 2020 event, currently scheduled for September 25th to the 27th. I think I hope that the Ryder Cup will be able to be played, because I think that's a good, audience participation thing for us to watch. So we'll see what happens on that.
I think that will get played, Mark. I think golf is one of those sports that's going to press on.
I agree with you. Some sad news to report. Wes Unseld, Washington Bullet Hall of Famer and NBA champion, has died at the age of 74. And I actually spoke to Earl Monroe today about that, because his teammate, and he said, Wes was really a great guy, and it's sad to report that.
Nobody has a bad thing to say about Wes Unseld, Tommy. Everybody has just great things to say about him. Executive, coach, player, retired number, Hall of Famer. He's an all-time great.
I don't think enough people, especially on social media, I don't think enough people talk about how great he is.
I agree.
It's he was the Washington franchise, and I don't think there's been a better player there, since. He definitely, when you identify players with their respective franchises, regardless if they've moved, regardless if they've changed brands, Wes Unseld in Washington, D.C. are synonymous for sure. And great player, great rebounder. Rob, to your point, I think probably even better than Bill Walton from an outlet pass perspective after getting rebounds. Didn't have the UCLA game, didn't have the perfect game at UCLA, wasn't a better college player, but I think definitely a better pro. Again, one of the real unsung, under-talked about, underrated all-time greats from people the younger generation of NBA fans just don't know about and talk about enough, and it's very sad. And hopefully they'll do the homework on him.
Yeah, he was a great player.
You remember when Willis Reed? Those matchups were tremendous.
Yeah, they were.
So
great games.
And who inducted him into the Hall of Fame? Willis Reed.
There you go. And finally, here's what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said about the ongoing protests and how individuals can make a real difference to combat the injustice in our country. The NBA's all-time leading scorer solution resolved around unity. Go out there and make a friend of someone that doesn't look like us. I thought that was just a brilliant, brilliant statement from Kareem. And that will wrap it up for this week's Clubhouse Report. Rob, back over to you.
Kareem's words are wonderfully profound, Mark. I like that. I think if we may spend a second on it to acknowledge it, my feeling is it's a time to listen and understand and certainly think, but I think listening. We don't listen and we don't have conversations, and I think we need to do that.
I agree 100%, and I really did think that he did a really great job. He wrote an op-ed over the weekend. It was really very well done.
Mark, that was a really strong finish to the Clubhouse Report. I'm sorry I muted you before. It wasn't, if I had known you were going to do that.
We've known each other for a long time, Dave, and your mute is my mute, I guess. That's how that works.
We have Mr. Cooney on deck.
We do. I thought maybe we could. Tom, you're gonna hang with us, right? Because we want you to. Great. So before but what we have Tommy on. Is there any? And then you'll join us. Continue. Is there a place where our audience can get a hold of your words of wisdom?
Ooh.
I mean, yeah, the internet. The internet's out there.
Master.
You can do a Google search. Some of them are good. I guess some of them are not so good. And a lot of this beard got gray pretty quick over the last 10 years for a bevy of reasons, I suppose. And one of them is that I decided to put my name out there and do some stuff that people paid attention to. And I'm appreciative of that. So you can, the SNY has all the archives, and that's sny.tv. And patreon.com/Tommy D is sort of, where I'm putting hopefully my best work, not in volume, not in the volume that I was doing it. It's funny. I look back, I did 65,000 posts.
Wow.
Right. Everybody talks about episodes and everybody talks about, and everybody's got their own different measures of, how much you do and hopefully how good you do. And yeah, we did 65,000 posts at SNY from 2008 to 2015 or so. And I'm proud of that because, it allowed us to build a brand and a platform that, did a lot of different things that people were attracted to. So I'll always have that stuff in my heart because I find it to be, my most important work to date. But also just really allowed for other people's voices to grow, other people's voices that didn't look like me to grow. And that's a cool thing as well. So at Thomas C. DEE on Twitter and patreon.com/Tommy D, which is basically, sort of my way to keep my my writing stuff alive, even though the heartbeat may be not as strong as it was, but also allows me to raise some money and do some cool stuff for some really important causes, including Autism Speaks and many, many other things, especially what's going on through the pandemic now and social causes awareness. Really, it's been a cool run. So that's where you can find me. And again, thank you guys for allowing me to say these words out loud on the radio.
Hang on with us, Tommy. We're going to bring Gerry on after this break. Rob?
You've heard of the Woj bombs? There's the D bombs as well. Tommy's outstanding on Twitter, and he takes it as well as and he gives it right back. So he's an excellent follow. We will take a break here on the Clubhouse, continuing right after this on 1490, 105.5, and WGCH.com anywhere.
Hey, Mom. I spy with my little eye something blue.
That box of crackers.
Yes.
Here comes Gerry. Ready for Gerry? Gerry. I see a lampshade.
He's connecting. I see a physical. I see some glasses.
Yes, there we go.
Hey, Gerry.
What?
Can you hear us?
What'd you say?
See, no, this is when I tell these guys on the air what you've done to me. I used to have a full head of hair until you started this thing. Rob Adams,
Hey,
Dave
Rob.
Romeo, Tommy D, and Bob Small, Gerry Cooney.
A rocking edition, another Zoom edition. I was trying to figure out how many we've done at this point, Mark. We've done a bunch.
We have. In fact, we maybe Bob Small's going, perhaps we should just do them and forget about all that other stuff at live at the restaurant. Although he would miss his pizza. I think he would miss his pizza.
We all miss the pizza. No
That
question.
and the beverages. Sure.
Hey, listen, guys, let me tell you something, right? I'm not supposed to remember how many you're supposed to remember. I took a lot of shots.
And that leads.
I can't even introduce him yet. He's jumping on time. This is I'm not. We may not be talking here. Well, both this long introduction, so hold on for a second. So, if I may, Rob, I'm going to introduce our next guest. So
Please
apparently
do.
is online. Gerry Cooney's professional boxing career was marked by exhilarating fights, exciting wins, and a powerful left hook, which I think he gave me earlier today. Gerry has written a must-read book entitled Gentleman Gerry, A Contender in the Ring, A Champion in Recovery. It is an honor to welcome Gerry Cooney to the Clubhouse.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Great to be with you guys too always. And I love that, the Clubhouse. I like that. Where are you guys right now? You're in Westchester, right?
All over.
So we're in Westchester and Fairfield, Connecticut, and
Putnam County, New York.
County. So we're all over the place.
Man, thank God I could do it from home and have to come over to all those places that drive me crazy.
No, Gerry, once we're back, we have a lovely place we'd love to take you to dinner.
Nice. I
A lot
like
of time.
that.
So before we start, and I want to ask a couple of questions, just so you guys know. So I know I'm getting ready for the show, and the phone rings. And I'm like, okay, and it's Gerry. I'm like, okay, so it's just checking in and stuff. I pick up the phone, and Gerry goes, "Hey, Mark, Gerry here. Looking forward to 4 weeks from now when we do the show." I'm like, what? But then he goes, and he started his laughing, so I got it. So anyway. Gerry, tell us a little bit about the book first, and we mentioned, but it's a great book. I got a chance to spin through a little bit of it. Tell us why you decided to write the book.
I got to tell you something. Well, I think I needed to get it out. I had done a lot of work. You guys knew I had stopped drinking back in May 21st, 1988. And I've done a lot of work about my life, what caused certain things to go on, how I got lost for a while. I lost my track. I got distracted and came back. And I wrote a lot about that to help me not continue on that path of drinking. But, a couple of guys got a hold of me and we talked about it. And I thought, well, you know what? It can't be bad to relive it again. And I got to relive it. It was like about 5 years' time. We did this book. And I just thought the story needed to be told. I was ready. I felt great. I made my mistakes. I fell down. I got up. I moved on. I dusted my pants off. And I'm out with a book. Came out with a book and had a very successful career. I was ranked #1 in the world. I was close to beating Larry Holmes for the championship. And, who knows? Had I won the champs that night, I probably wouldn't be around now. Life was so fast and so crazy for me.
Well, I got to tell you, so, and each part of the book, the reader's given a really cool insight. Now, he breaks it down. You have chapters, and there's parts in the book. And in part 3, you mentioned the walk in the dressing room,
Wow.
entering the ring. Tell our audience about that, Gerry, because that's pretty cool.
I got to tell you that in my gym, I have a gym in Scotch Plains called Gerry Cooney's Boxing Academy, and I have a photograph of me. And you got the pictures now. You know, I'm fighting Kenny Norton in the garden. I'm a young kid. I'm 23. And you get a knock on the door. And the guy opens the door and says, Cooney, you're next. And your life kind of passes right before you in that minute. And then you got a long walk from that dressing room into the stadium. And the first half of that walk is kind of like you're trying butterflies, nerves, everything's going on. You get halfway to the ring and you hear the crowd. And you wake up and you become alive. And that's a man that not too many people have got a chance to deal with, that kind of guy. And I'm sure all athletes go through it. It's the walk of my life. And I couldn't wait for the bell to ring. Once the bell rang, I had to fight.
Gerry,
Okay, so
Dave Taramir here. Sorry, Mark, but I just I grew up on Long Island as well. I grew up in Lindenhurst. I was a big Joe Frazier fan as a kid, and then we were all big Gerry Cooney fans because you're from Huntington, and you know, obviously rooted for you. And I guess my question is really, how does a kid from Huntington, because we played all sports and we tried to box, you know, after the '76 Olympics and all that success of that Olympic team, we tried to box in our backyards. And my dad was actually a Golden Gloves boxer as well as, and I know you were, but how do you get into boxing on Long Island at that level?
It's really funny what you said in 1976. I got invited to the finals of the Olympic trials. That's where the top 8 guys go to Colorado Springs and fight it out. I just came back from Europe with the USA team. I knocked everybody out. I came back. They told me the Russians would come and stay in shape. They called me 6 days before the fight. Meanwhile, I was drinking with my buddies. And they told me I'm fighting the 3rd-ranked Russian. And I went out that night and I hit him on the chin and knocked him dead. And thank God, because I wasn't in that great a shape. And I got the phone call that I made it to the finals of Olympic trials. That I want to go. And I said, I'm sorry, I really can't make it. My father's sick. And he said, you sure, Gerry? This is the finals of Olympic trials. 3 times he told me that. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to go. I'm sorry, my father's going to stay with my family. He said, you sure? He hung up the phone. And that was 10% true. 90% was I hated my father. My father beat me all the time. 90% was I didn't have the self-esteem. I'm not good enough. I can't make it. Why am I going to go make an ass of myself? And those are the mistakes I want to help change in guys today. How I became a fighter was that, listen, you know, in my house, it was, there was a lot of, you know, my father was an angry man, worked hard, had 6 children, grew up with a wife, and he took most of his frustrations out on the boys. And so my brother left the house when he was 15. And then a couple of years later, he started going to a gym, the Huntington Recreation. And I could follow him there and watch him a couple of days a week because I loved him. And then I put the gloves on. I put the gloves on, hit the bag, and I said, let me box somebody. And they put me in there with this little tank. I would kick my ass that night. And I threw the gloves off, threw them on the floor, went home, said, forget, I'm not doing this. But the next day, I went down in the basement, I hit the gloves again, and hit the bag. And I went back to the gym at 15 and a half. And they asked if I could box that kid again. And that kid couldn't do that to me again. And then 6 months later, I won the middleweight title. And I guess it was the rage. And when I was to find out later on in my life that boxing helped me to express how angry I was for what was going on in my household. And then they put my picture in the paper. After every fight, I'd go to the newsstand and my picture was on the back page of the Daily News. So it made me somebody. That was kind of a long answer.
No, it's good.
And a good answer. Gerry, Rob here. We cannot understand what it's like to have a moment in the garden. And you fought in the garden, and that was over quickly. What's it like to have that moment on one of the great stages in the world, honestly?
Listen, when I was 16, I was in the finals of the Golden Gloves in Madison Square Garden. And they turned the lights off, and you're standing in the corner, and they put the spotlight on you, and my legs were shaking. But like always, once the bell rings, just nothing. I don't got to think about nothing. I just got to fight. But when I'm fighting Kenny Norton, or I call him Mendingo, I mean, he just had lost to Holmes 3 years earlier. He was a beast, and I was in probably the best shape of my life that night. Had I fought Holmes that night, I think I could have beat Holmes. Even though, listen, Holmes was a great champion. He had so much experience. But get back to fighting in the garden, Kenny Norton. Wow. I grew up there. I fought so many times in the garden, and it was my home. It was my home court. It was my home court. It was nothing better than fighting in the Garden. I love Madison Square Garden. I got to tell you a story. I still go to the Garden, to the Rangers and the Knicks and different fights. And a lot of people that worked when I was there, that worked there, they're still there. And we're like family. It's crazy. It's great.
So I like, and I was reading the book, Gerry. It's like you have this great interaction with your co-author, John Grady. And, that he would say in the writing process, and he would talk a little bit about, how you and he got along. So tell our audience a little bit about that whole crazy thing, because he was like, wow, I'm actually hanging out with Gerry Cooney. As we're pretty excited tonight hanging out with you, but his writing process was interesting in the book.
Let me tell you something. He never got in the ring with me, that coward. He's a coward. He never got in the ring with me. Oh, we had a great time. We hooked up. I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. But I got to express what happened. He asked great questions. He did a lot of research, way too much research. And we got to go through it, and I got to experience it again and grow from that again. And it was a very powerful moment for me in my life. There was ups and downs. There was sadness. There was joy. And the funny, great part about it, I got a great family, three beautiful children. Man, it is the greatest thing in the world. I made it. Like I remember the story, like I would get up and get dressed and walk down the street and fall in the hole. And I banged up my arm. I got up, went about my day. The next day I got up, I got dressed, I walked down the street, I fell in the hole. I banged my leg up, I got up, I went about my day. Next day I got up, I got dressed, I walked down the street. I had to find a different way to go. And that's in the book. I found a different way to go. And I don't go in the hole no more. And I found how to ask the question. And first time I went to a place that when they were stopping drinking, I heard somebody say, "Can you help me?" And I thought, wow, you can say that here? And I've been asking that question ever since. And you know what? Anytime you ask that question, there's always someone that answers. I want to fight you now. What are we talking about?
You mentioned the book, and that's what I was going to ask you about. Your recovery from addiction, but also going the distance. And now today, going the distance means a whole different thing than when you were in doctor's days.
And I was always not allowed to feel. Growing up, I hid my emotions. I was trying to make believe. I was so frightened kid. And through the life process and the experience I had, I traveled the world a couple of times. I went to a party once in Las Vegas, Nevada at Caesar's Palace. Everybody I ever wanted to meet was at that party that night for me, for myself and Larry Holmes. And from Jack Nicklaus, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali, Wayne Gretzky, you can't imagine all the actors down, just amazing. And so those were great experiences for me. And by the way, I also want to tell you that, listen, Larry Holmes and I are the best of friends today. We are, I think I sent you a picture. I don't know if you got it. I put it on your phone. But we are the best of friends. We hated each other. I didn't like him much. He didn't like me much. But when we finally got in the ring that night, we fought it out. And he was a little better than me. He had so much experience that I didn't know anything about. I was a puncher. And so since that fight's over, we travel all year long. We get together. We visit our families. And great time.
Okay, so tell our audience, two more things. First of all, I have to ask you, we have a couple minutes out. Howard Cosell.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about Howard Cosell. You had an interview with him.
Man, I had an interview with him. I used to travel with him. I was on the Battle of the Network Stars. He made me the commissioner. And I'd been out to his house in the Hamptons. He was at his house bitching about Dick Young. And his beautiful wife, Emmy, said to him, "Oh, yeah? Well, why do you read him every day?" Right? And he was the greatest guy in the world. Let me tell you something. I could tell you some great stories about him. He told me, "Gerry, I am ABC." And he was at that time. And obviously he lost his wife and he got a little sick and he came out with a book and whatever that was. I didn't really even pay attention to it. I loved Howard Cosell for his whole life, what he gave to the sport.
Okay, so does anybody else have another quick question before we let Gerry tell us a little bit about where they can,
You're good, Mark, go ahead.
Okay, so Gerry, tell us where they can get this wonderful book. And by the way, and we talked about this, Gerry, it's going to be a great Father's Day gift.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say that.
No, it really is. It's going to be, I told I have 3 daughters and they have boyfriend. And I said, you know what? your fathers are all going to want this book. So there you go. So Gerry,
Well,
tell our audience a little bit quickly where they can get this lovely book.
BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon, your local bookstores. And yeah, I love to read. I think it took over 5 years to write it out. We had to cut a lot down to get in book size, but yeah, here it is right here. You see it right here, right?
Yep.
Look at me. I look the same. Do I look the same?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You better say that. You better say
I
that.
would message your left hook. Gerry Cooney, thank you so much for being on the Clubhouse.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Gerry, thanks very much. Mark, another one in the books.
And I think, the Zoom worked except for when I went, broke it down for a second, but otherwise good to go. It was fun.
About that. Thanks to everybody who joined us tonight, from Carissa Hope Jasinski to Tommy D to Gerry Cooney, Mark Jeffers, Dave Toromio, Bob Small, for the whole gang. I'm Rob Adams. We will see you in 2 weeks. Not next week. We'll see you in 2 on the Clubhouse right here on 1490 AM, 105.5 FM, and WGCH.com. Once again on Zoom. Good night, everyone.
Great show, guys. Thank you.
AM 1490.
Thank you. I'll send you the MP3 file.
Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate it. Good night, guys.
Hey, Gerry.
Yes, sir.
Great
Yes.
stuff.
How much
Thank
money
you,
would it take for you to fight Mark?
Not very much. Not
Okay.
very much.
All right, I'll give you a call.
Hold on, I did.
See, your right hand's way too low.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, guys. Love you guys.
Good
night, Gerry.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Tommy, thank you, man.
Are we doing an after show podcast?
No, we're doing an after show beverage.
Are we doing it? You want me to I'll put a pizza in the oven and we'll.
There you go.
No, I'm going to grab, if you guys got time, I'll grab a quick beverage and we can recap.
If Mark can hear us, we could do it.
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Did I tell you, I hate Gabe. You hate it too. He's tonight.
I'm going to pay that man. I'm going to pay him.
Wow, it's raining so wildly here that it's coming through my window.
Wow.
I'm gonna fight Gerry Cooney. I'm in.
Hey, but I thought you were gonna say how much it's gonna. That answer would have been different.
Did Sarah send you that beer yet? She needs to send you the beer. Right.
Pouring.
Is it?
We haven't gotten it yet.
We haven't yet.
I feel like it's coming.
It's not raining here yet either.
It's pouring here. Yeah, it started thundering right toward the end of the show. I went, oh, great. I'm going to be the one to lose power.
Yeah, right.
But never did. So it's weird. I don't get the music from you on this now. Not all of it, Bob.
I notice if I play it too loud, it turns down your volume.
Yeah.
So I have to back off on it quite a bit to hear you properly.
All right, everybody, when Mark comes back, pretend you can't hear him.
I'm in. Straight faces. All right, cheers, guys.
Salud, brother.
Oh, man.
Slancha.
Slancha indeed. To better days.
Oh, no question.
Amen to that.
Dave, I thought we handled the riot stuff pretty quickly and pretty well.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah. We were trying to figure out, Tommy, the best way to work it in so that we at least acknowledge,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that's definitely not easy. Drew Brees did not make it any easier.
No, he did not.
And yeah, I mean, it's complicated.
Oh, sorry.
Mark, can you hear me? Mark?
I apologize for that. I guess it was Dave's fault. He kept saying the host sucks.
He's lost it again.
Mark talking?
He's not hearing us.
All right, now
He's
you're all
not
set
hearing
me
us.
up. I understand that. I deserve it. So I thought Cooney was good. Tommy D wasn't so good, but Tommy D's Tommy D. We can. Oh, he's still on.
You know, I thought Cooney actually looked better than he used to.
Yeah.
He looked really good.
He did.
Like we need to have him on again. He was great.
He's very good.
Yeah, he's he's actually a ball buster, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, love to see him in person.
Yeah, me too. He was.
And I think when we go back to Grand Prix, he'll come because he was just like, he goes, he called me literally just to bust my chops. And yeah, it's.
No, he was good.
The Madison Square Garden story did was I love that stuff. You could just tell that that was like his his Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen moment.
But
that was
him walking down the street, falling in a hole, that's like poetic. That was amazing.
Yeah,
he was really good.
I really remember. I remember because I'm close, older than almost as old as Bob, but I remember watching him fight. I mean, he was.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, those fights used to be on like they would start at like midnight, right?
Yeah.
So you had to struggle to stay away. I mean, I remember those.
You remember like the first Ali Frazier or whatever it was like on radio play-by-play? It wasn't play-by. It was like you had to wait till the round was over, and then you go, well, here's the first round recap. And I'd be like a boxing fan. I'd like listen to that.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
I remember the very early days of Network Stars, ABC.
Yes.
That was one of the first like appointment non-sports, well, it was sports, but not non-game television. Ronaldo Nehemiah.
Yeah, exactly.
Ahmad Rashad, right? Wayne Gretzky dominated once. I remember him like he outran everybody, and he was like, and then Gerry Cooney was the commissioner, what you mentioned. There's a lot of WWF.
Still had to do that.
Yeah, there was a lot of WWF in that, which was really funny.
It was.
And there was a lot of Bird Magic Johnson with Cooney and Holmes, right? I mean, it was fueled with race. That's not just 2020.
No.
This pizza's really good, Mark.
Yeah. I just got the delivery from Grand Prix.
Well, guys, I'm going to hit the road.
Yeah.
Bob.
Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Always
Bob.
a pleasure, Bob.
Thank you very much.
All right. Call it a night. Only problem is if I sign out, you're all out.
No, we're getting. I'm just going to say, Tommy, you're good. Everything is. He probably said something. I was probably in the getting a drink, so.
Everything's great. Yeah.
Only thing I said while you were gone, Mark, was I thought we handled the rioting and all very, very well, very succinctly.
Yeah, I wanted to mention it, but I didn't want to make it a topic. I mean, it's obviously a topic. But,
good. They did it perfectly.
There's other people topicking on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I would say so.
I'd like to know. I'd like
cool.
to know this. I'd like to know the story behind Dave Toss Salad to Romeo.
See? Now, this is behind the scenes of the Clubhouse. You're right. This should be a podcast behind the scenes.
The Toss Salad podcast. Is your first guest going to be Ron Powless? Or is that Rick Meyer behind you? I got
Ron Powless. You're right.
I know. I got it right first. I knew that.
You did.
His arm angle is different than Rick
And
Meyer.
you only know Toss Salad if you're an Odd Couple fan. So
I am an odd.
can't help you if you're not.
I do get it now. Makes sense.
So,
Toss salad.
You're
And
going to go longer or no?
Toss salad and scrambled eggs is Frazier.
No, that's Frazier cream. Toast salad.
How many longer beard?
This is tight. I like it. It's too
I
gray.
think you can let it go though because you're in the pandemic. You can let it go down here. You could become a rabbi.
I could grow it. The Saul Berenson. I can grow it. I can grow it here. My homeland reference. I can grow it here, but I can't grow it here. So I got to keep do the reverse.
See, as long as I don't turn my head at all, which I'll never do again, I have a full head of hair.
No, I know. Yeah, looks good. Looks good.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's good?
Everybody is good.
Sean's okay?
He is fine. He is upstairs. He's a couple of weeks away from graduation, and there you go.
Nice work.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Are they doing anything? I know, but because some people are doing certain things.
Looks like we're going to do one of those drive-through ceremonies.
So they're doing it in Canaan.
Yeah, you're going to pull on campus, have your photo op, and away you go.
Wait a minute. High school, not college, right? Don't get me.
Yeah, this is high school.
Don't make me feel old as you probably feel.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet.
Where's he going?
He's going to stay local. He really wants to just go to Dutchess Community and start there.
Good.
Nice.
Smart.
Absolutely.
Cool.
You know, and then he's happy to transfer like a WestCon or something like that. But he's really content. So
There you go. Good work.
yeah.
That's a smart move.
Dave, did you tell Tommy about the thing we're working on?
Yeah, at the beginning. Well, he heard me when you asked that. I mentioned the panel. So I'll send you. I'll post it on LinkedIn and everything anyway. So we'll, you should definitely join as you can. This 3-part series, and then obviously the other one's going to be the race relations one. But I got to think of a good title for that one.
Any way I can help, let me know.
Mark, if you want to reach out to Earl on that, we'll figure out a date. And Lowe's is going to reach out to Alan Houston and whoever else he mentioned, which is good. The other guy was good too, but I'm just getting old.
All right, boys.
All right, brother.
All right.
Tommy, thank you so much. Cheers, my friend.
Hello, guys.
All right, guys.
Dave, thank you. We'll talk.
Got it. We're out.